This minor hockey coach is suspended tonight over revelations about his criminal past. Plus, hundreds could be out of their homes for weeks or more. That's what people in a downtown apartment building are now facing. We're hovering around zero right now in Windsor as we take a live look at the Ambassador Bridge. This weekend, those holiday parades start. What's it going to be like for you and your family? Colette Kennedy has the full forecast. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. It could be weeks before people at the Westcourt Place building will be able to get back inside of their apartments and offices. The fire investigation is finished and the building has been returned to the owner, but it's still off limits because of an order from the health unit. Dale Molnar has been covering this story for us all week. He joins us now live. Dale, what can you tell us tonight?
Well, Chris, good news for the tenants who are staying over at the WFCU Center. They have the 30 tenants there have been staying in that makeshift shelter have been moved to motels, and the owners of the Westcourt Place are putting them up. However, that does not include the other people in the building who have been staying with friends and in hotels. Now, of course, there's law offices here at Westcourt Place, and a lot of lawyers in there are still scrambling to keep their practices going. And as we found out yesterday, a law firm is going ahead with a class action lawsuit. Criminal lawyer Paul Esco's office is in the Westcourt Place building. The fire that closed the building Tuesday has cost him money and cost him clients.
I feel like a homeless. I'm walking around at lunchtime. I don't have any computers. I have to relocate. Telephone lines are down. So if I can't get back by next week, I'm going to have to find a new place to stay. And then there's a lot of costs involved in that. So I imagine I will contact the lawyers about the class action suit.
City officials held a news conference today to announce the latest developments at Westcourt Place. The mayor says it will likely take a while before the generator that has been brought in is operational.
The city is not able to provide a date for when the residents will be able to return to the units, as the next steps are managed by the property owners and their insurance company. But I can tell you that I am hearing that this could be upwards of 2 weeks, perhaps longer, depending on the amount of work that has to go on site to make this happen.
Harvey Strasberg, whose firm is launching the class action suit on Monday, says a similar thing happened at an apartment building on Parliament Street in Toronto.
A fire was an August day, but a year ago. The people are not in now.
Strasberg says they can launch a lawsuit without knowing a cause.
Fires don't occur by themselves. Fires caused usually by an electrical problem.
The lawsuit is seeking monetary compensation for time off work, out-of-pocket expenses, lost belongings, and for injuries and other things. 3 tenants went to hospital but were treated and released.
I'm going to have to find out. I'm going to have to see what's going to have to be replaced.
Tenant Jarrett Chalmers, whom we met yesterday, is considering joining the lawsuit, but everyone affected will share in the compensation unless they opt out. Now, the firm Strasberg, Sasso & Sutz, which is launching the lawsuit, is planning to hold a meeting down here in the downtown area sometime next week to bring all the tenants together to bring them up to speed on the lawsuit. Now, I reached out to the owners of the Westcourt building. They are not commenting on the lawsuit, but the building manager, Vicki Hayden, tells me that they will compensate the residents and tenants here based on what the Landlord-Tenant Act says they have to do. Chris?
Dale, the residents, we understand what's happening with them, but if someone needs to head to the provincial offences courts, where do they go now?
Right. The courtroom has now will now be set up in council chambers next Monday, and they will also set up another courtroom in room 139 of City Hall. And so all the provincial offences dealings can be done with right at City Hall. Now, the city is keeping track of all the costs associated with that and the shelter, and they'll be seeking compensation from the owners of Westcourt Place. They're also asking those owners to set up some sort of website or online presence so that the tenants can remain up to date on what's going on. I reached out to Vicki Hayden a little while ago to find out if they're going to do that. I have not heard back. However, we do know that they are setting up an office somewhere here in the downtown area so that they can operate out of that while this is all going on. And the city says if any of the tenants need assistance outside of what Westcourt Place people are giving them, to call 211. Chris?
Thanks, Dale. The CBC's Dale Molnar live on a story he's been covering the entire week. Those residents displaced, and it could be for weeks. A convicted felon who coached 11-year-olds in Windsor has been suspended. Now, the hockey coach's past came up this week, and it included a history of arrests in the United States. With more, we go live to the CBC's Sanjay Maru. Sanjay, what's going on here?
Well, Chris, I'm here at the 80 Knox Arena. There's currently a game going on between the Windsor AA Pee Wee Spitfires and the visiting LaSalle Sabres. Now, normally that Windsor squad would be led in part by assistant coach Stanley Norris. However, that is not the case tonight. That's because just hours ago, we learned the Ontario Minor Hockey Association has requested Stanley Norris step down as assistant coach pending an investigation from the OMHA. Now, Norris, when I spoke to him just hours ago, says he received an email late last night requesting he submit paperwork to the association and that he'll be called in for an interview. It's only after that interview that a decision will be made as to whether or not he'll be able to return behind the bench, but it's unclear when that interview will be. Now, this all came to light following an investigation from the Windsor Star, which outlined a number of charges dating back to more than 15 years ago in the U.S., which Norris attained, including battery and aggravated assault.
Sanjay, you're at the rink tonight because his team is playing. What's the mood like there?
Well, Chris, that game that I mentioned, which is happening right now, started just minutes ago. So I spent the past hour going up to parents to get their reaction on the situation. However, none elected to speak with me. But as for Norris, he, as you can imagine, he's not happy with the decision, but he says he understands it. He believes the Ontario Association is simply trying to protect itself, but he believes he will be back behind the bench sooner rather than later. Now, we sat down with Norris earlier this week, and he acknowledged much of his criminal past. He says while it may look bad for his reputation, it doesn't define who he is today. Let's take you back to a bit of that conversation.
If there's a crime against a child, you're absolutely not allowed, which I don't have. So I just know certain things. I haven't sat down with OMHA yet. I'm assuming I'm going to have a meeting with them. I would like to let them know my side and then let them decide what they want to do, and I'll be compliant with anything they decide. I just want to coach kids. That's all I want to do.
And after tonight's game, there's expected to be a meeting with the parents and the Windsor Minor Hockey Association inside this building. As you can imagine, the main point of discussion will be Stanley Norris. We hope to hear from parents and personnel from both the Windsor and Ontario Minor Hockey Associations. And if we do, you'll be sure to find that on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Chris.
Thanks, Sanjay. Our health unit issued an alert after a spike in opioid-related visits to emergency departments. This is the third alert issued in 2 weeks. Here's what came out today. An alert after 10 people went to emergency departments and the cases were flagged. 3 are believed to be opioid-related. 1 person reported ingesting a purple substance. Another note here, the health unit is aware of 2 instances of naloxone being administered by EMS in response to suspected opioid overdoses during that same time period. EMS is the only first responders in Windsor trained to use naloxone kits. The police and fire department do not equip or train members to use naloxone, which is something that can temporarily reverse an opioid-related drug overdose. As for why there's been a higher number of opioid-related visits to the emergency departments this month, Windsor's Chief Medical Officer of Health says it's a multifaceted problem and there's no one clear solution. It's almost time for bright lights at Windsor's Jackson Park. Organizers say this year's show will be bigger and brighter than before, with one exception. They'll actually be turning down the brightness and eliminating some strobe effects on Monday nights from 5 to 7 p.m. It's part of a partnership with Autism Ontario Windsor Essex. They're trying to create a more sensory-friendly experience. They'll also be handing out light dueling or dulling glasses. There are a few other new features this year, like heated washrooms and early morning viewings for walkers and joggers on Sundays from 6 to 8 a.m. Bright Lights kicks off December 6th, and it will run until January 7th. Repairs at Windsor's city-owned marina will cost an additional $2 million. Record high water levels swamped the Lakeview marina earlier this year. The city is replacing those wooden docks with floating ones. The new price tag will now be $5 million. City Council has to approve the cost at a meeting that will happen on Monday. The mayor says the high cost is because not enough companies do this type of work.
A great investment in that particular site. I don't think we have much of a choice. You know, we're going to have to take it away from something else in order to be able to do this. But at the end of the day, we have a marina. We're in the marina business, and we'll have to look at how we're going to continue to do it right.
Once repaired, the marina will hold 222 boats and bring in about $360,000 to the city each year. The current docks are nearly 40 years old. A new program at a high school in Wallaceburg is bringing traditional Indigenous teachings into the classroom. As CBC's Katerina Georgieva reports, the goal is to connect students to their roots, teaching them about who they are and where they come from.
When we're talking about our medicines, who can tell me our 4 sacred medicines?
Traditional medicine is just one of the lessons learned through the Standing Bear program. Last semester, it was just a pilot project, but now the course is offered year-round for grade 11 and 12 students, many of whom are from Walpole Island First Nation, not far from Wallaceburg.
Our kids need this to focus on who they are, to get a background and an understanding of where they come from so that they can walk with their heads held high and use all of their potential to make something of themselves.
In the curriculum, there's everything from beading to drumming to hunting. Students visit Walpole Island to meet with elders, building a community of support.
It's very important to me because I like to see other people learn about, because a lot of the high schools don't really teach that kind of stuff, and I like to see other people trying to learn, or at least get a little bit of knowledge of how our ancestors lived.
We even had somebody from Walpole Island come in and show us how to pluck a duck and clean it and everything.
It gives me some insight and some intriguing questions to ask about, my roots, where I'm from, where my native half is, where it is.
I know you guys probably think I preach to you about really listening and taking when you get these teachings.
Shognosh often shares stories about her father with her students.
And it's hard now because I don't have my dad to just go home and ask anymore. The knowledge that we've come to know has been passed down for generations. And me personally, almost all those people now have passed on. And I guess that's how I keep that knowledge and that legacy of what they taught me going.
These are teachings Shognosh learned at home growing up, but she says that doesn't happen as often anymore. Robin Isaac is a career advisor at the school. She says there's a bit of a disconnect with this generation.
It's, the residential schools, people being pulled out of their homes. There's that intergenerational trauma that a lot of our families are still dealing with.
She says Standing Bear is another step forward for the kids. Shognosh hopes to see the program continue to grow year after year to help more students understand their roots and empower them moving forward. Katerina Georgieva, CBC News, Wallaceburg.
Flu season, it's here, and in the past, it's really clogged up beds at Windsor Regional Hospital. The CEO said every day they would have about a dozen people waiting for a bed, operating around 115% capacity. That was 2 years ago. This morning, they were around 90% capacity. So how did they do that? Something called Bay Beds. It cost the hospital about $2 million, and it's something they bankrolled by operating with a deficit. Windsor Morning's Tony Doucette asked the hospital CEO about this morning.
Went from 20 hours waiting in the emergency department from the time they're admitted to getting a bed. Now we're down to 4. We're like one of the lowest in the whole province of Ontario.
There's the process of moving all of these people around. And when we talk about hospital beds, as was pointed out yesterday, it's not a bed that really costs the money. It's the people who look after the people who occupy those beds.
Sure,
How much did it cost you to do this?
To implement the whole plan, just under $2 million. And that was done with our own. We didn't get a special operating amount of money from the government. They didn't hand us money. We said, we got to do this. We got to do this ourselves. We got to fix it ourselves. Now, in a weird way, The government is providing monies to organizations to try to do things. We're not getting it. So that's something we're working with the government on to say, we did this work 3 years ago, we should be recognized for it.
CBC News asked the Ministry of Health for a comment. A spokesperson says that the ministry is working to end hallway health care and said Windsor Regional Hospital was sent $1.7 million this year to fund 28 surge beds for flu season. Now, if you need a flu shot, you can get one at the university on Monday. The health unit is holding a clinic. Windsor's Library Board wants to launch a $2.2 million fundraising campaign. The money would help pay for the Central Branch's new permanent site. The relocation of the library's Central Branch has generated some controversy. It was purchased by the Downtown Mission for $3.6 million back in March of 2018. Some people said it will harm tourism in the downtown core. Ward 3 Councillor Rita Bordelin says the fundraising campaign will show the city and other levels of government that the library is serious about securing a new location. But an avid user of the downtown library says she's not convinced that people will feel compelled to give money.
I think that they're going to have a really clear vision of the library, what they want it to be, and at least kind of zero in on some of the locations if anyone's going to actually donate. And then also the other concern I have is that businesses who donate might have a say in, if they donate a lot of money, they might have be able to sway where the location is, and that might not be the best location.
The Central Branch is temporarily moving to the Paul Martin building, with that space expected to be open in about 3 months. The current home on Olette Avenue was bought by the Downtown Mission. It's expected to be at least 5 years until a permanent home is ready. The second day of public testimony wrapped up this afternoon in the inquiry into whether the U.S. president should be impeached. It was the former American ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch's turn today. Donald Trump had fired her back in May. As Ellen Morrow reports, the early part of the hearing was overshadowed by a tweet from Trump.
Marie Yovanovitch, the ousted ambassador to Ukraine, said she was the victim of a months-long smear campaign led by President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
I obviously don't dispute that the president has the right to withdraw an ambassador at any time for any reason. But what I do wonder is why it was necessary to smear my reputation.
Democrats say Yovanovitch was removed because she was getting in the way of Giuliani and President Trump's efforts to pressure the Ukrainian government to launch investigations into potential Trump 2020 rival Joe Biden and his family. Trump attacked Yovanovitch on Twitter as she was testifying on Capitol Hill. Criticizing her foreign service, the president wrote, "Everywhere Marie Yovanovitch went turned bad."
I actually think that where I've served over the years, I and others have demonstrably made things better.
Democrats accuse the president of witness tampering. Not so, he said.
When we have great Republican representatives, people elected by the people, and they're not allowed to even ask a question, they're not allowed to make a statement, we're not allowed to have witnesses, we're not allowed to have legal counsel, White House counsel, it's a disgrace and it's an embarrassment to our nation.
Republicans on the committee say Yovanovitch's testimony amounts to hearsay. They argue President Trump did nothing wrong and that the hearings are a waste of time.
I'm not exactly sure what the ambassador is doing here today. This is the House Intelligence Committee that's now turned into the House Impeachment Committee. This seems more appropriate for the Subcommittee on Human Resources at the Foreign Affairs Committee.
And the stark partisanship and strong language on both sides will only get more intense, with more witnesses set to testify in front of the cameras here on Capitol Hill next week. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
It starts this weekend, a number of holiday parades in Windsor, Essex, and Chatham, Kent. So how many pairs of mitts should you be packing while you watch Santa's sleigh ride by? Colette Kennedy has the forecast coming up. Joining us now for a live look at the weather is Colette Kennedy. Colette, a lot of holiday parades this weekend. Those little marshmallows that are walking around, so cold but so wrapped up and everything. What's it going to be like for people out here in Windsor, Essex?
Well, you know, it's a gentle warm up, but there is one coming. We just have to get to it. So let me kind of take you through how things are going to be. The headlines being this. We have to deal with overnight tonight, which is still some of this colder shot of air that's moved back in, that's on the cold side once again. So overnight into Saturday, we're going to have some significant wind chills and deal with that. Saturday, though, it's kind of our transition day, so temperatures are still cool. That is true, but it gets us closer to when we're going to see a little bit of a warm up as we go to the second half of the weekend. And with sunshine in there, too, it's actually going to be very nice because we'll have a reduction in the active weather as well. Now, current temperatures today, we struggled unofficially to a high of 1.6. So 1 degree sitting at right now, Sarnia at 0, and Chatham-Kent coming in at -3. You have to knock a few degrees off with the wind chill, but that high pressure is kind of building in, pushing the clouds away. I do want to say, though, the lake effect that we're going to see is because of the wind direction getting that northeast to easterly flow. As we go through the day Saturday, we may see just a light rotation of some scattered flurries and cloud cover kind of pushing in. It'll be short-lived and not talking about accumulations, but that will just be because of the lake and the relatively warmer waters. Other than that, we're doing pretty good through the rest of the weekend. So hey, enjoy those outdoor activities. You do just need to get yourself looking like a bit of a marshmallow because, especially for tonight and tomorrow morning, wind chills -11 to -14 throughout southwestern Ontario. Windsor, we're headed to -6, the actual reading on the thermometer. Tomorrow afternoon, we climb up there above the freezing mark, just barely, kind of similar to today, 1 degree, mix of sun and cloud. And then as we look ahead, this is what I mean by that little bit of a warm up coming Sunday, up to 5 degrees, again with a lot of sunshine. Sunday is going to be a really, really nice day. And then into Monday, mix of sun and cloud. For Tuesday, better chance we'll get into some showers at least because of those temperatures being where they're at. And then Wednesday, 6 degrees. It's funny what you celebrate depending on the time of year or the circumstances, right?
No, absolutely. I know it's usually thank God it's Friday, but on Wednesday I feel like I'm going to enjoy that heat up there.
Yeah, that'll be quite the hump day.
Enjoy your weekend, Colette.
You too.
Take a look at this delicious photo set coming in here now. These are gingerbread houses that are being submitted into Amherstburg's Gingerbread House Contest. The Warming House in Amherstburg opens this weekend, so you'll have a chance to check these out, including these two lovely figurines there. Again, this is part of the contest, so if you pop over this weekend, you'll be able to see some of what's on the go. If you have a weather shot this weekend, maybe you're out at one of those parades, send it our way. Could be photo of the day on Monday. You just go to our Facebook page, post on our wall. You can email us, windsor@cbc.ca. You can also take us on Instagram or Twitter @CBC Windsor for those. A Chatham-Kent native NHL star is back home tonight after a scary incident at the rink. That's coming up. Chatham-Kent native TJ Brodie is at home after collapsing during a team practice. The Calgary Flames defenseman collapsed during a skate yesterday. He had to be taken away on a stretcher after falling to the ice and convulsing. Now, he was released from hospital last night. The team says he's resting with family and feeling good. He won't be traveling with the team for Saturday's road game in Arizona, though. 6:29 p.m. and that's it for CBC Windsor News. Thank you very much for watching us, and make sure you have yourself a wonderful weekend.